Any one of us could be one serious illness away from selling our home and draining our savings because we have to pay for higher healthcare costs or longer term care. In today's show, I'll be shedding some light on the context of that, particularly as the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has announced that baby boomers working beyond state pension age will have to now pay national insurance contributions. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen Samuels, and you're here at the Smart Years, a place where baby boomers can reinvent, thrive, and live well into their third act of life. So, the context of all of this is there's a deficit in the public purse here in the UK. Rachel Reeves, she took over from the Tories and discovered that there's a £22 billion deficit in the public purse, and she's trying to fill the gap in that. Now, one of the expenditures that comes out of this public purse is adult social care. And that really does pertain, particularly as we continue to age. And given that there's a £22 billion deficit, the Chancellor is trying to find ways to fill it. And what she is proposing is that as baby boomers working beyond state pension age will be required to pay a national insurance contribution. Currently, we're exempt from doing so once we pass state pension age. There's Sir Andrew Dilnott, who is a social care funding expert, and he is the one that proposed that baby boomers should pay it. He says, well, I don't think it's unreasonable for baby boomers to be making this contribution because it will be invested in the social care fund. However, from the baby boomers' point of view, from our point of view, there was a level of protection that was awarded to us in the form of that if we had to engage with social care, adult social care, then our liability would be capped to £86,000, which gave it a sense of relief, because if you have a home, that gave you a sense of security that you wouldn't have to sell your home in order to pay for care. But we know that really that trend or that reality is reversing. And the reality is that Rachel Reeves has now abolished the cap of £86,000 and has just said, well, if you've got assets, that's a subtext. If you've got assets, you're going to have to pay for your care. And so Andrew is saying, well, here's one of the ways that in which it can be done. Now, from our point of view as baby boomers, if we are working beyond state pension age, now there may be a handful or a few who are working because they just love working and they don't really need to work. They're doing it because they fancy doing it, something to fill their time. However, there's a higher percentage of us who are working into our 60s, 70s, maybe even into our 80s. And the reason being is because we have insufficient pension savings. So we need to continue working to pay for our daily living cost of living, together with increasing our saving pot contribution, our pension. But also we're factoring in the fact that we're living longer, and this is right around the world, but we're living longer. So baby boomers who may have some savings would have started that journey. We started it with the view that, we live 70 around 70, 75. Well, actually, what is being projected by the World Health Organization that we're living into our 80s, 90s, and 100s very comfortably. And so there's a shortfall in terms of pension, retirement, money, income. So that's the reason why we're working to fill that. Now, if we're going to be taxed on top of that responsibility, then that's going to deplete our income, which means we'll have to be working longer or take on or find another stream of income or take on another job, the ones that don't really exist, even though, diversity, equity, and inclusion keeps talking about there's equality for everyone. You decide. And in relation to the social care funding, so the Chancellor has removed the cap of 86,000. That throws up vulnerability in terms of housing, because let's say you have to sell your home, you undertake and you're exposed to, longer term care, and you pay for that. And then let's say you move out of that system, but where are you moving into because you've sold your home? And so there's a real threat and fear and a gnawing anxiety of homelessness. So that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that currently adult social care is funded by local authorities, but we know since the downturn, that era of 2008 through to about 2012, when the whole world imploded financially, since then, local authorities have been making swinging cuts to their public purse that fund local services. And so they're being challenged. So the pot is shrinking, but the demand is growing. So what Rachel Reeves is suggesting is there's going to be a cross-party review. How are we going to tackle this adult social care problem? How can public services be managed more effectively, more efficiently, that delivers a greater value for money? So they're looking for a value add. But in the meantime, we know that these reviews, they can get kicked into the long grass, and so years down the road there may not be a solution to the problem, and so a review could actually delay a solution. But in the meantime, the demand continues to grow. And so this is the conundrum that we are all facing. How do we fund our care? Because as I said, any one of us is subject to one illness away where we could be living on the streets. And that is a reality. It's not a fictitious scenario. We just look around our neighborhoods, we're seeing it. But if you're interested in understanding what this plight, what this reality is as we continue to age, there's a fragility around housing security, because if you have to continue working, but you have to pay for your adult social care, that could run into, hundreds of thousands of pounds. Here, we're at the thin end of the wedge here in the UK. But if I think about places like America that has exorbitant healthcare costs, then the reality is even graver. So this is what's happening. We're being required to work longer. We could be taxed. That impacts upon, retirement and daily living income. The local authorities, there's a deficit there, and there's insecurity in terms of housing. So that's the situation we find ourselves in currently. If you are interested in finding out more about the issues surrounding the reality of homelessness for baby boomers, then check out this video where I talk about and go into greater detail around the hidden homeless crisis. I will see you all again on the next show. Bye-bye.